Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, your number one source for income-oriented investing. And in today's video, I want to quickly talk about taxes because tax season is upon us. And by the way, my background is different because I am in Panama City right now this week. I'm filming this on the 21st of March. So I'll be back home very, very soon. In a couple of days, we're actually staying at the JW Marriott and we're actually apartment hunting for when our lease is up. In a couple of months, we decided to move to the city and we actually found a place. We signed the lease and everything. So we will be here by mid-May to June 1st. We will be here in Panama City, living in the JW Marriott Hotel, which has a section for residents, for apartments. And this is actually the old Trump Tower. It's actually referred to as the old Trump Tower a lot as well. So pretty cool, and more on that later. Today's video, let's talk about taxes because tax season is here, right? It's already almost April, actually, by the time this video comes out. Maybe it'll be April, maybe a few days before that. But in case you're new to investing and this is your first time, I'll quickly go over basically what happens at tax season for your ETFs. And this is really regarding the cash account or the margin account, right? The non-registered account. Because for the TFSA, the RSP, super easy. These are tax sheltered accounts. But for the cash account, basically what's going to happen, everyone, is that for every ETF that you have, you will get this, what you're looking at on the screen here, a T3 statement. And the T3 statement will tell you the entire breakdown of the distribution you've got in 2024, which portion is capital gains, which portion is ROC, which portion is Canadian eligible dividends, which portion is foreign income. So you will get one of these for every single one of your ETFs. And I've seen a couple of messages in the Facebook group, and this is probably because you're new. So these are typically very late to come. Sometimes they come early, sometimes they come later, but you should get all of them by the 1st of April, okay? So I've received some, I remember the 25th, the 26th of March. So it's possible, guys, that for some ETFs, you did not get your T3 statements yet. And by the way, you could download them in your broker. You go to your broker, whichever broker you use, tax documents, you'll find the slips there. So you'll also get a T5, by the way. T5 is for all Canadian eligible dividends. You'll get a couple of other slips, but the really important ones are going to be the T3s. Again, you'll get one for every single one of your ETFs because the distributions, for example, HYLD and USCL and QQCL, et cetera, because each one is going to be different tax-wise, right? So this is the documents where you have to print them all out. And again, make sure you wait until April 1st because there might be a couple missing. Don't panic if you are missing a few ETFs. They typically come at the end. When I used to do taxes in Canada, I basically wouldn't even look and download them till like April 1st or 2nd to make sure they're all there. So you download all of them, you send them to your accountant. But let's go over a couple of some very popular ETFs in the community. We'll look at the tax information because you'll see that there's really not many surprises and it all makes sense. So let's check out Hamilton. So for Hamilton, if you want to check out the tax information, you go to any one of their ETFs, go to distributions, and then you click right here. The annual tax information is available here, this link here. You'll get directed to this page here and you'll be able to see for every single ETF the breakdown on how much is eligible dividends, capital gains, other income, foreign income, et cetera, et cetera. So if we take HYLD, you'll see that there is a tiny portion of eligible dividends. This is Canadian eligible dividends. That's because HYLD does have very small amount of Canadian dividend stocks in there. I think it's probably from the gold miners one. Big chunk in capital gains. You see the total here is 1.665. Then there's other income. So one small note for HYLD. Remember that they did the full transition in February. So it's possible they have 1 or 2 months where they used to have, JEPI and RYLD. So there could be some foreign income because of that. My expectation is that next year HYLD is going to have almost no foreign income and other income. They probably will have a little bit because there's a tiny bit in US bonds in there, but I think they'll have less than this year. And most of it is return of capital, basically. So in order to really figure out the percentage, if you want, let's say you want to figure out what's the percentage that's return of capital and capital gains, well, you just add the 0.29, 1.16435. And this is going to be typically the majority of the income, if not all the income of a covered call ETF will be capital gains and ROC. And we know that ROC is simply delayed capital gain. So that's 1.45 whatever. If we divide that by the total, which is 1.665, 87 times 100, if you want to make it nice and clear. So 80 for HYLD, 87, a little over 80% of the income for 2024 is capital gains and ROC. And I'm assuming next year it's going to be even more because, like I said, they did the transition in January, February. So next year it's going to be all 12 months of HYLD being in-house. And you could go through all the other ones as well, guys. You see HDIV is here as well. Obviously, HDIV is definitely a lot more Canadian focused, so you're going to expect more in the eligible dividends. So you see eligible dividends, 30 cents out of the $1.97 is eligible dividends, but most of it, again, is capital gains and ROC with a tiny little bit of other income, which I'm assuming is the U.S. bonds in there. So you could check out all of these. If we move on to Harvest, you go to any one of their ETFs, click on distributions here, and you'll see this button, annual tax information. That's where you'll find them for Harvest. So you'll have all their ETFs, and again, the breakdown of how much is eligible dividend. This is Canadian eligible dividend, foreign income, the withholding tax that they take care of and pay. That's why it's a minus. You don't have to worry about that. ROC and capital gain. So if we go to the HDIF, which is part of the grade 8, soon to be grade 9, HDIF here, you see that there's going to be a tiny little bit of eligible dividend, right? 7 cents, 0.07 out of 0.87 is going to be Canadian eligible dividend, a tiny bit of foreign income, and the vast majority, ROC and capital gains. So you could go over the Harvest information as well. For Global X Canada, you click on our ETFs, you go all the way down and you should see 2024 distribution summary, and you'll get again the distribution summary here, and you'll get the amounts at the top, and you'll actually get, I really like that they've done this on a percentage basis. So they've also given us the percentages as well. So for example, if we go to BKCC, there's going to be a little bit of Canadian eligible dividends, right? Because the banks have eligible dividends. The rest is ROC. If we go to the ones that I'm certainly interested in, USCL and QQCL. Let me see if we could find those here. Where are they? We should be expecting mostly capital gains and ROC. Right, so here's ENCL. So you have 15% in eligible dividends, of course, and then you have the rest in capital gains and ROC. Here's USCL. So the entire amount USCL is capital gains and ROC, which is perfect for me as a non-resident. That's what I want. For CNCL, you have 100% return of capital. For USCL, okay, we did USCL. Here's QQCL, same type of deal, mostly return of capital and capital gains, which is very, very tax efficient for me. So there you have it for Global X, and we could go on and on and on, guys. Here's Evolve ETFs. Again, you go to any one of their ETFs, click on distributions, and you click on T3 distribution tax factors, because you're going to get a T3 for the ETFs here. Like I showed you, right? You're going to get this form. So if just want to do bank real quick, because it's probably their most popular. Again, bank is all Canadian financials. There's a lot of Canadian, which all have dividends. So we're going to expect, just like it says here, a portion in Canadian eligible dividends. So 17, almost 18 cents out of the $1.23, which is something like 17-18% or something like that, is eligible dividends. The rest is return of capital, right? If we go to Utes, I believe it's going to be pretty much the same story. A little bit of Canadian eligible dividends, right? Yeah, a little bit of Canadian eligible dividends, and then mostly ROC and capital gains. And there's never going to be any foreign income or other income, because it's 100% Canadian. And that's it, guys. You just keep going down. You have the purpose ones here. As well, if you go to any one of their ETFs, I'm on the Bitcoin one. You scroll down, you look at tax factors, you'll see the tax factor. So it's pretty much all capital gains and ROC. Of course, for the Bitcoin one, because it's all covered call income, there's no way in hell it's going to be any Canadian dividends or foreign income. Brompton as well, right? You click on any one of their ETFs. I've selected BMAX here. You scroll down, you click on distributions. You select 2024, and you'll see that the majority of the income, $1.03 out of $1.31, so well more than about 80% of it is return of capital. You'll have a little bit of foreign non-business income. I'm assuming this is because of the preferred shares. There's a little portion in U.S. preferred shares in BMAX, and then there's a little bit of eligible dividends here. Not much, but a little bit, 11 cents it seems, and the rest is capital gain. So the majority, the theme is pretty much the same. The majority of the tax breakdown in a cash account for covered call ETFs, covered call strategies, is going to be capital gains and ROC. If there's some Canadian dividend stocks in there, you could expect some eligible dividends. If there's US stocks in there that give dividends like bond ETFs or US dividend stocks, you'll expect a little bit of foreign income as well. So that's it, everyone. That's how you find your tax information. And remember, you'll get a T3 statement for each one of them. You print those out, you give them to your accountant, and he'll take care of adding it up. But again, very, very, very tax efficient ETFs, everyone, in terms of the covered call ETF. So hopefully this was useful and useful for you. Give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it, and see you next time.